This is me doing a water bucket clutch from world height. Okay, so maybe I suck at clutching, but over the next couple days, I'm gonna try to break the world record for the highest water bucket clutch ever. I created the world and had my first goal, beating the dragon. In order to get the world record, I can't just jump from the highest point in the world. And there's only a few ways to get higher than build height. The first would be to use redstone and slime blocks to launch me up, but that's not very effective. Another way would be to use TNT, but not only does that not get me that high. Oh yeah, and I didn't mention this yet, but I'm trying to do this all in hardcore Minecraft, which means that if I mess up the clutch, it's over. I could also use shulkers and levitation, but that still doesn't get me high enough. So that leaves me with one option, elytro. If I fill up my inventory with rockets, I can use them to gain as much height as possible. Back in the game, I got my basic tools and went straight to mining for diamonds. I've never actually beaten the game in hardcore, so I want to play this as safe as possible. I dug to Y level -53 and used this fancy trick I learned from Exumavoid to strip mine in a single block line. Can I just say that mining was so much more enjoyable before caves and cliffs? I mean, I like the update, but Deep Slate is just so slow. With a full set of diamond armor, it was straight to the Nether. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest, this isn't the first time I've tried this challenge, and not the second or the third. You get the idea. The Nether is probably where I die the most in Minecraft, so I just wanted to find a fortress and get out. After searching for a while, I spotted it. This place was pretty much a maze and there were blazes at every corner. I also didn't bring that much food, so I had to be careful not to get hit. I eventually found the blaze spawner and used my dodging skills to not get set on fire. With 10 blaze rods, I had already gotten farther than most of my other runs. Now, all I needed to kill the dragon were ender pearls. Instead of trading with piglins or villagers to get them, I found a warped forest biome and farmed endermen for a while. I felt like 14 pearls was more than enough, so I started to head back home. But with all of the damage I'd been taking, my food supply was gone, so I had to resort to finding mushrooms. I eventually got back to my portal and started the search for the stronghold. It took a while, but I was able to find it and set up a little camp to prepare for the dragon fight. Like I said before, I've never beaten the Ender Dragon in hardcore and have only really done it in single player a couple times. My worst fear is when the dragon launches you in the air, since the only way to protect yourself from that is water bucket clutching. After enchanting all my armor and stacking up on resources, I was ready to face the dragon. My heart was racing since starting over now would be a big setback, and with my water bucket in hand, I anticipated the worst scenario. Nothing really happened. It was actually really easy. I basically just sat in the portal and hit it with my axe until it died. I'm pretty sure I only took half a heart of damage the entire fight. With the XP from the fight, I wanted to upgrade my tools a bit since I was about to embark on my second goal of the video, getting an elytro. I went back in the end in search of an end city. After a lot of bridging over the void and ender pearling, I found my first city, which luckily had a ship. Throughout the whole playthrough, I'd been stocking up on as much gunpowder as possible and got a total of 30 rockets. And this wasn't because I needed to get home. No, this end city wasn't the goal of this trip. When coming up with a plan on how I could get as high as possible, I realized one thing. Elytra don't have that much durability. Here's some quick math. Each elytra has 432 durability points. Adding Unbreaking 3 increases that by about 400% for a total of 1,728 durability points. This means that you can fly for about 28 minutes on a single enchanted elytra. Remember that, and now let's look at firework rockets. After some testing, I figured out that one Flight Duration 3 rocket will propel a player upwards for about 5 seconds. This means that each elytra can take about 350 rockets, just over 5 stacks. And with 37 available inventory slots, I calculated that I would need 5 elytra to maximize my height. So the search began. It took a while and all of my rockets, but I eventually found all 5 of my elytra, and an extra for good measure. Now it was time to leave the dangerous parts of this adventure behind. The next goal was to get all of my elytra fully enchanted with Unbreaking 3. To do this, I was gonna need to find a village, which was not too difficult to find. I thought that the end in Nether would have been the hardest part of this challenge, but boy was I wrong. Minecraft villagers are just so bad. I know that they spent a whole update trying to fix them, but they're still so awful to work with. They're the only way to get enchanted books quickly, and they're practically required for the starting game, but they're so slow and barely cooperate. I mean, I had to rip apart the entire village to get all of the wood I needed for the emeralds, and that wasn't even nearly enough. I mean, it got me my mending books, but those were way less expensive than Unbreaking 3. I destroyed an entire forest around the village, and that still wasn't enough wood. And just when I was making some progress, the Fletchers decided to up their stick trade price. And you might say, oh, why don't you just make some new Fletchers? Well, there weren't any more villagers in the village. So I had to travel thousands of blocks looking for another village, and had to destroy their houses and even more forests to get all of my emeralds. This took me way too much time, only for 10 books with mediocre enchantments. And then, when I had all my emeralds, I went back to the first village and watched this clip as I slowly realized that I left all of my mending books and elytra back at the other village. You don't even need to hear my disappointment to see that I was in pain here. So I went all the way back, got my stuff, and finally I had my emeralds and elytra, and I could get them enchanted. All of that for 5 books. I added all the enchantments to my elytra, moving me on to my next goal. As the final part of my plan, I needed gunpowder, and a lot of it. Specifically, I needed 32 stacks of gunpowder, which would create 32 stacks of rockets. I found a new spot far, far away from that horrible village and laid out the inventory I would use for the jump in a double chest. I'm gonna have 3 elytra in my inventory, plus 1 equipped and 1 in my offhand. I'll also have a water bucket, of course, and the rest of my slots will be for rockets. To get all my gunpowder, I found a creeper farm tutorial by Waddles that looked pretty simple, so I started gathering resources for that. I haven't been trying to make this world look nice, so I decided to make the whole thing out of wood, which means more wood collecting. I also set up some sugarcane for the paper I was going to need to craft the rockets. The farm asked for sticky pistons, so I ventured into a swamp in search of slime. It was surprisingly dangerous, but I got out of there safe with the slime balls I needed. I gathered the rest of the resources I needed and started to work on the farm. To maximize spawn rates, I built it over an ocean at world height. This meant that no caves were loaded underneath that could affect spawn rates. The farm was pretty easy to build, and after a bit, it was already functional. All that was left to do was AFK, and since I wanted to gather sugarcane while I was away, I built a sugarcane farm on top of the creeper farm. All that was left to do was wait for everything to collect. With everything collected, it was time to make my final preparations. In order to fully maximize my height, I decided that I would jump all the way down to bedrock, so I dug a hole all the way to the bottom of the world. For dramatic effect, I built a target for me to hit on my way down. And for the last bit of height, I built a tower all the way up to build limit that I would start flying from. I crafted my rockets, repaired my elytra, and prepared my inventory for the jump. All of this work, these hours of preparation, depended on this jump working. If I missed the clutch, I would lose my world, my time, and my dignity. I swam up the tower and stood on the dirt block I placed to start the jump from. The liftoff wasn't flawless, and I was worried that moving around the way I did made me go off center. And for the next 2.5 hours, I flew upwards, using a rocket every 5 seconds in order to maximize my height. The hardest part was switching the elytra once they broke, and refilling my hotbar with fireworks. I honestly had no idea how high I was gonna get. I kept going higher and higher to the point that my player was glitching out. As I was running out of rockets, I noticed that I was getting really close to 150,000 blocks, an insane number that I really wanted to hit. The highest water bucket clutch I've ever found online in complete survival was only 10,000 blocks, so I'm pretty sure 150,000 is well enough to beat the record. But I was quickly running out of rockets, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna make it or not. But I did, and after using my final rockets, I hit a max height of 150,150 blocks. I threw out the rest of my elytro to prepare for the clutch, and I was now in complete freefall with nothing to stop me other than the water bucket. I was looking into nothingness, and I worried that at any time the world could load so fast that I wouldn't have time to react. And after 30 minutes of falling, the world came into view. This was it. I'll let you watch what happened. Okay. I'll let you find out if I clutched or not. But if you got this far in the video, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe. It really helps. Okay, here it is for real. I guess I'm a world record holder now.